Okay. Good evening and welcome. This is the June 3rd, 2024 meeting of the school committee. Call the meeting to order 4:47. This meeting is being both audio and video recorded. I would ask that everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we would start with a roll call. Kate, please.
Kate Lyden.
Sarah Trulio.
Gregory Thompson.
Gordon Smith, Superintendent of Schools.
Pamela Blair, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Samantha Velasquez, Secretary.
Amy out there?
Amy is, she was.
Yes. Hello.
And Amy Delenta is in remote. Thank you.
Thank
you. I'm gonna pull Tim up here, so let's can I have a motion to move 7.1 to the next order of business, please?
I move to adjust the agenda to bring 7.1 up to the next order of business.
Motion made by Sarah,
Second.
second by Kate. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 4-0.
Taking it above committee communications.
Yeah, we'll take it right now.
Awesome. Mr. Millett, the floor is yours.
Administration. Tim Millett here from Burton Park. We had a phenomenal DC trip this past year. Turned out great. We're able to meet Congressman Richard Neal. That was something the students really enjoyed, listening to him talk about the TikTok ban, and the students really got their ears perked up and they had 1,000,001 questions and they started to realize how well he knows this area. I wonder why. But it was a great experience. Just the learning that goes on for the DC trip after they have an entire school year of just civics engagement. And it's really when it matters the most is when you can actually go to these places, see them. And I am asking for the school committee and administration's blessing for to get the ball rolling on next year's. Currently, we have the same company that has offered us a very, very good, I want to say trip planned, and it is starting around the number you see on that, the cost. It's gone up a little bit. There's been conversation about ways to work that down, any things that families are able to qualify for, as well as scholarships and funding. But I also have this other company here. So we have World Strides, the one we've been with, and Grand Classroom. Grand Classroom is trying to provide a, if not better experience with I would like to say, a more reasonable price. Obviously, everyone's pockets hurt from time to time, and for a DC trip where it's financially more viable for all families in town, I think it's definitely something to pursue. But obviously, I want to make sure this is taken care of and we kind of get the ball rolling for the beginning of the school year next year. So with that, I'd like to continue Burton Parks with ever so indulgent trip to DC because the staff that go, they love it. They said that this was the best one so far, and I was very happy about that. And I'd like to say the 125 students who did go, they deserved it, they earned it. And it speaks volumes to an 8th grade experience.
Where'd you meet the congressman? Where'd it
go? So I had to go out of my way. Obviously, I know it's an election year, so angles. But I basically, I reached out to his office and I was like, if he's around, we could set up a Capitol tour through his office. And then his secretary, 2 of them kept responding to me and they're like, this is phenomenal. I'd love to, like, they thought of their 8th grade trip. And that day we had a gift. Actually asked Gordon for his idea for gifts, and I actually bought him a Spartan envelope opener, and it's a little bit obviously out of the norm of like a hat or a cup. I say that respectfully, but there was many ideas, and I thought this was a genuine, like, this will be definitely an East Longmeadow thing where it is just, it's a letter opener, it's a letter holder. And I went to him and I was like, listen, your desk, your secretary's desk makes no difference. Just thank you for your time. And the kids really appreciated it. They kept asking, where did I go every now and then? Because I had to like scurry around the Capitol. So I'm sure I was like 10 and 2 to Secret Service, but but it was a great time, and met outside the Capitol after the tour, and he spoke to the students, and a lot of them were like, my family, and obviously he had a lot of yeses because he's been our congressman since I've been alive.
Yeah.
Not to make anybody, but 1989 is,
Wow.
you know,
Again, you think this time?
I would love to. I'd love to set that up. The photos that came out, his office, they had a photographer. One of the teachers that came along with us, I actually sent them to the reminder. She thought that would be great.
Yeah.
And I printed out the photos for the students, so on the 8th grade graduation, to make sure they get individual ones. Cool.
That's awesome.
Oh, great.
Connection.
Got your chaperones.
Yeah, chaperones are
Yep.
they're always the willing bunch that really enjoy it, and they're phenomenal. And like the morning we left, as I rolled up, the tables were set. I took care of them the day before. Teachers were doing that.
Great.
Again, making sure the logistics were all on set for buses and things like that.
Any other questions for Tim?
So you're considering going to
Yes.
this company?
Between the two, I'm obviously not trying to play them off each other. This gentleman seems a little bit more grounded. It's a smaller company. World Strides is a very large company.
Okay.
When you go into DC, you will see the World Strides logo on many, many shirts. So it's nothing against World Strides. It's just obviously the bigger they get.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm very direct with things. So when we were setting up the trip, I called hotels, I called the bus company, even though they confirmed it through the
Okay.
rep, and I just want to make sure that that's the case. So.
I move to approve the Birchland Park Middle School Spring 2025 Washington DC field trip.
Motion made by Sarah,
Second.
second by Kate. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. That carries 4-0.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
doing
you.
it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming tonight.
The negotiations.
Yeah. Hey, we have our summers, folks. We have our summers.
Nice.
Thank you.
Good night.
Take care, Tim. Thanks. Okay, we're gonna go back into order. We have some minutes for approval, please.
Move to approve the May 20th, 2024 regular session meeting minutes.
Motion made by Sarah,
Second.
second by Kate. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Carries 4-0. Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Mhm.
Committee and subcommittee communications. Amy, do you have any communications today?
I don't have anything today. Thank you.
Okay, Kate?
I don't have anything today.
Sarah?
We were all at graduation. It
Yep.
was beautiful. Also got to take in the Western Mass Championship for lacrosse. So that was great as
Ladies
well.
Lacrosse, yep.
Uh-huh. That's all I got.
Excellent. Good stuff.
Continue to win.
Yeah, Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Game. Okay, opportunity for visitors to address, none of those. End of year staff survey and new cell phone procedure.
Okay, so in your packets, we go back out to our middle school and our East Long Meadow High School staff. Similar questions, but not exactly the same as the fall survey. And you can see that we got 112 responses. A little bit more on the high school level, but somewhat evenly spread there with 56 at the high school and 43% coming from the middle school. Interesting that they felt roughly almost 72% felt they strongly agreed or agreed that it was easy to implement. But I think we have higher numbers at the beginning of the year in terms of the ease. Remember, we did that in October, so it was probably 4 or 5 weeks into the school year. Then some of the newer questions that well, actually willing to follow, that question was on. That one became much more of a mixed response. In the fall, they're willing to follow. It was almost overwhelmingly strongly agree. Now you're seeing a slight uptick in disagree and strongly disagree, 39.3% versus strongly agree and agree at 36.7%. Which is kind of interesting. 24% said neutral.
Hmm,
So not sure what that means in terms of
Yeah.
implementation. But so I think the messaging next year, if this is where we choose to continue with, and we'll talk about it this summer with the leadership team in terms of what messaging looks like and what, follow through in terms of after the first few weeks. What are some of the plans that we can do to help out teachers? Because as you go to the next question, you look at reminders. You know, the highest one is that they, 58.9% every week, they had to give reminders. And I think in looking at some of, there were about 7 pages of individual comments, so we'll go through those comment by comment to talk about with the administrators. But you know, some were saying that they did it on a daily basis. So.
Gordon, can I jump in for 1 second with just a
Absolutely, please.
question?
Yes.
I know when we talked about this last year, we sort of all kind of had, this was definitely part of our plan to come back and survey and really get a sense as to how people were feeling. I'm wondering if you think more anecdotally, if, you know, the culture has shifted, because I think that was sort of what we talked about, you know, shifting the culture to, this is no longer in our classrooms. It's not acceptable. From the parent end, and I hope, I don't want this to come across at all critically or anything, because I know how difficult this is to implement, but from the parent end, I'll tell you, I'm still getting text messages frequently during the day.
Yeah.
And so obviously that's just anecdotal, and that's just, you know, one example, and it's, you know, again, not to be critical, but just kind of wondered your thoughts about how that culture has shifted, or if you think it has enough, or.
Well, I mean, I think you hit, interestingly enough, on one of the elements that come across in the individual comments. So there are probably about 7 to 8 comments that said we should go to the locked pouches. So it's just completely off limits. However, you did have the other side argued that, you know, during the students' passing time and lunch, especially at the high school, they're allowed to use it. And so, you know, where's that balance? Because there was I'm assuming it said middle school, so I'm assuming it's a staff member at the middle school, said that they thought they were fine at Birchland with just, you need to have it in your locker and away, because that had always been the rule. And it really wasn't a disruptive situation at Birchland, where now they're coming into the class at Birchland and going into the pouches.
Mhm.
But interestingly enough, as you get to that last question, to continue it.
Gordon, no, I don't think they were all leaving them in the lockers.
No, probably. No, I'm just saying what
Yeah.
no, I would agree with
If
that.
they live with their phones, they
But
don't,
they
none of them are leaving them in the lockers, I bet.
Probably not.
I know.
The other
right?
one is the comment that was
Yeah.
interesting.
12-year-olds, 10-year-old, yeah.
A few
Never
comments
said it.
regarding that the students know how to beat the system, that they have burner phones, and so they'll put something else in the pouch. So if you're not paying attention.
So pay attention.
Right. Yeah, no, and that's a key thing.
It's a fake phone. Where's your real one? I mean, this is not hard, though. I think it's a lack of, and maybe they don't want to do it, but
Well, they actually,
I know this page, the last page says it all.
that, you know, they do say 72.3% agree or strongly agree to keep it going.
Yeah.
So.
It's just consistency of.
That's exactly what it
Yes.
is.
Yep.
And
It's the-
expectations are a bit more.
Being
Right.
disciplined enough to implement it as intended.
And stick with it.
And it's a combination. I mean, I think the balance is, the administrators have to keep the communication and messaging up and follow through, although it didn't look like they were overwhelmingly referring people to the offices.
Yeah, myself.
So, it's, you know, it's how you manage your class. And I guess there's no way, because they're students and they're learning. You remind students about everything.
Yeah.
So you're gonna remind them about this.
And just because you're reminding doesn't mean that it's problematic.
Right, true.
Like
Sure.
I bet you if we surveyed about other things, like how often do you remind your students about their homework? It's on a daily basis, or how often do you remind your students about, you know what I mean? Like they're offering a reminder on a daily basis isn't necessarily a negative.
Right.
That's what we should do.
Because kids like to push.
Yes, getting into a back and forth.
That's
Like the
different.
beginning of your class.
Yes.
Problem, right.
Right, but if you're consistent and this is the
They don't
rule,
dissipate.
That's it.
and that's the problem. I don't know how consistent.
So maybe some of that's, again, setting a tone earlier with messaging to families that we'd love to partner with them. Because Amy, I think you're right in terms of, the parents are still getting text messages and so forth. And they're probably in some cases texting their children. And then you're putting the child in a tough spot. As if, they haven't put it in the pouch and they feel it go off in their pocket. So anyway, it's a good point. It's a valid point that, we need to keep discussing. So those are the results. I don't know if you wanted to have a formal vote just to implement it again next year, or we're just assuming we're implementing it again next
How
year.
do we leave it this year?
I know we were gonna revisit it, which is why I did the survey.
Re-implement, it, then I'm not adverse to
Yeah.
that.
We need the policy number, any of that, or can we just say we move to approve?
Yeah, just.
The cell phone policy or the cell phone
Continue the-
procedure continuing?
I think that would be fine.
I move to approve the cell phone procedure continuing into next academic year 24-25.
Motion made by Sarah,
Second.
second by Kate. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Those opposed, nay. That carries 4-0.
Thank you.
But this is good. This last page, though, is very encouraging.
yes,
I thought.
And so we can, with this experience under our belts, discussing it, so throughout the summer, we can be thinking, does the messaging look like? When do you start that? And so it's not all, that last week of August.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We did the field trip and we have 3 contracts that were discussed in executive that we would like to approve in open session. So we'll start with 7.2. Someone like to do that?
I move to approve the new 3-year contract for Unit A as presented.
Motion made by Kate,
second,
second by Sarah. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. You're gonna abstain, Amy?
Oh, from Unit A, yes, I will abstain. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. So that motion carries 3-0 and 1 abstention.
All right. I move to approve the new 3-year contract for accounts payable bookkeeper as presented.
Motion made by Kate,
second,
second by Sarah. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 4-0. One more, please.
And I move to approve 7.4, the new 6-year contract for the Assistant Superintendent for Business as presented.
Motion made by Kate,
second,
second by Sarah. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 4-0 as well. I don't know, 20 minutes, new record. Come on, Pam. We could sit around and talk for a while. Now let's get out of here. Take a motion to adjourn, please.
so moved.
Motion made by Sarah,
Second.
second by Kate. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That carries 4-0. Thank you. We are adjourned.